Now, just to tell you what's in the newspapers today in the sports section. Bad news for Leinster and Sean O'Brien. O'Brien's season hangs in the balance. It looks like Sean O'Brien needs surgery on both his shoulder and his hip. And that would mean he'd played just 7 games this season, and he will be out until the autumn internationals. This is bad news for O'Brien, because you kind of start getting these niggly injuries that don't clear up over a period of time, and then people kind of just forget how explosive you are as a player. And the comeback at this stage of his career is much more difficult as well.
Yeah, he's had so many. It's just dreadful luck, unfortunately, and the recurrence of this shoulder injury that happened to him, and he's come back a few weeks ago against the Scarlets. It's so disappointing. Forget about the Irish and the Leinster thing, but for him personally as a player, he's just had no luck at all.
Yeah.
I really feel sorry for him.
Is there a possibility that the surgery clears it up, and actually this is a mid-career rest, and a late-stage career rest, obviously in O'Brien's case, and that he has to think about it like that he could have another couple of years at the end of this?
Yeah, he's only played 6 times this year. Coming back from a brilliant Lions tour, his form was outstanding to get himself on the tour last year, and he was brilliant when he was out there. So it's yeah, you can look at it that way, and sometimes with some of the injuries I had, I was trying to get solace and maybe get some comfort in the fact and maybe give you a year or two at the end. I think just Sean O'Brien would love to have a year or two without a bloody injury and just get a clear run, and unfortunately that's not happening for him at the moment, and people on the outside will speculate now because it's a recurrence of so many injuries, and
what's that like when people are like,
it's frustrating. It's frustrating because you look at someone
talking about your career,
and I've chatted to Stephen Ferris about this, and he kept trying to come back with his ankle, and eventually had to give in, and I saw something online. Is he being compared? Is he going to be another Stephen Ferris, retiring early before his time? He needs a clear run, because no matter how mentally strong you are, I'm sure it's very, very frustrating for the player himself. But
it's 2 injuries at the same time as well.
Getting your head around that and keeping going is hard. Yeah,
the 2 other quick stories I want to mention here. Antonio Conte says that Sean Dyche has it easier because he's managing a team that's trying to avoid relegation, which is an interesting take on it. We might get into that in a couple of minutes' time, because it comes up in the rest of the newspapers as well. And then Mayo's Moran disappointed with himself over Deegan confrontation. This is the black card that Andy Moran got for dunting Maurice Deegan during the Mayo-Tyrone game. And Andy Moran doesn't bring it up so the way these things work, there's a press day, Andy Moran sits there, everybody asks him questions, and then the next day they get 5 or 6 pieces out of it. But he didn't personally bring up the fact that he had been bereaved. His father died a couple of weeks before that game, but somebody did say to him, "And your father had died," and he was like, "Yeah, look, there was a lot in my mind. I was going through a lot at that stage. That's not an excuse." And so I don't want to paint it in any way that he's making it as an excuse, but it certainly is one of those instances where we start to think, actually, you know what, there's loads going on in these people's lives. You criticise them, they make a mistake on the pitch, he gets in a lot of trouble for it. Everybody's like, oh, if that was Dermot Connolly, he would have been suspended for 12 weeks. And in the meantime, Andy Moran's dealing with real life that matters, as opposed to a black card in a meaningless league game. I mean, it wasn't meaningless, obviously, because they needed to avoid relegation. But I guess the point I'm making is we don't really have a clue what's going on in people's lives.
No, and straight away these kind of stories escalate. And like you say, the question isn't directly asked of him. It just comes up, and then there's a load of stories on it. And, it just escalates into something that he didn't want to talk about and he didn't want to bring up and use as an excuse. But that is the reality. Sometimes when you criticise or when you go after someone, that sometimes there's a reason, or there's for a change of behaviour, for something going on that sometimes we forget.
Yeah, and even I don't know if you saw the Conor McGregor got in touch with Blind Boy.
I saw it, yeah.
And it's like, well, that's really weird that Conor McGregor is reading what Blind Boy says and concerned by the fact that he's comparing him to Tupac and Biggie, because we've mentioned it in the show, it really looks like Tupac and Biggie here, warring gangs from different factions. When actually, why couldn't they just be friends? But I mean, I don't know if Conor McGregor is a human being as opposed to the cartoon character behind that, but I guess he is, at some level.
Yeah, but I think, and as the sports person, you can get very frustrated if somebody goes somewhere that you don't want him to go, and you know that if they knew some more information that you personally know, that it would put it in context of whatever the case may be. I know it's hypothetical, but that is a big thing with sports people, that they get frustrated, and a lot of them say they don't read the papers, but you hear these stories and stuff like that. So for McGregor to be picking out him like that, and that comment, and notice it with so much attention around, and you can imagine so many people writing about that story, it obviously struck a nerve, struck a chord there with him.
Yeah, rang some bells from all right. Okay, so onto the Times Ireland. So it's Lukaku on the back for Manchester United, not Pogba, who makes the back of many of the papers for his performance last night. Good enough to apparently get him back into the team for the FA Cup semi-final. When do we all start caring about who plays in the FA Cup semi-finals? But anyway, Moyes wins power battle at West Ham is the story there. That's an exclusive for them, saying that they're going to double down on David Moyes next season, give him a contract extension and not sign a director of football. And then Moran, I had a lot going on. Footballer of the Year cites bereavement as reason for his black card outburst against referee. In a roundabout way, that's what happened, but like it's not as black and white as well. As like he didn't go, well, I only did that because my dad had died. He didn't do that at all. Like it was just so that everybody is aware, because he was in with Nathan talking about just life generally, and had said that they didn't tell anybody that his dad had died. They kept it kind of very quiet. Obviously, it's word filters out in small communities very quickly, but they hadn't kind of gone public on it. And again, I guess, I was thinking about this in the context of Diarmuid Connolly. There's a lot of speculation about Connolly not being part of the team, and like we haven't spoken about it really that much on the show, because actually, you know what, if Diarmuid Connolly wanted to play football, he'd be playing football, and so it's not really any of our business, I feel, to speculate on the whys and that kind of stuff. And I realise it's difficult sometimes when characters are so big and so compelling.
It's rumours as well, you know what I mean, the Diarmuid Connolly situation, and you can't, unless you've definitive information as to why you're speculating, and then you're going into territory that can affect that personal life situation.
I just feel as well like
it's like breaking news story for a journalist or for whoever. You got to make sure your story is right and your information is right, and then where you want to go with it. So the Andy Moran thing is maybe subconsciously it affected his temperament, and and it creates a spark, and you fire off a little bit, so you don't know until after it. And
no doubt.
I don't think he wanted to make it about that. And
I wonder, is there a difference between like full-time professionals like you guys were and amateurs? Like, do you guys just have to accept that the level of criticism will be more intense and the scrutiny will be more intense?
There's more pressure and more scrutiny as regards, because you have all these supports and you're a full-time athlete. If you're an amateur or semi-pro or whatever, you got to go back to work, and maybe there's a little bit better understanding that it's the real life, as we call it.
Yeah.
But it's forgotten sometimes in professional sport that you've a real life as well. You've a life away from that, and you're a human being as well. So it is forgotten sometimes.
We can talk a bit with Michael Quinlan about this, because Sean O'Halpine is in all the newspapers today, and he's talking. He was talking to, I think it was Nathan during the week, about how now at this stage, he's really, really happy that he was never a full-time professional athlete, but that at 18 he would have bitten your hand off to be a full-time hurler. Now, having seen what professional sport does to his brothers, or like the difference in outlook, he had a job, he had to go to the bank after losing the
He's only saying that now, he'd love to have been a professional athlete. You can understand what he's saying, because
the transition back into real life was normal.
Yeah.
Certainly at the end.
Maybe to experience that situation, like I think it sometimes it can make you or break you, or somewhere in the middle, and it can fluctuate. You win, you do have a really good period. Life is just, you're on top of the world. Then you have a bad run, and you're in a position maybe like the Sean O'Brien situation, where you come back, you work your socks off, then you get injured again, and it's very, very difficult, no matter what level you're at, to stay motivated. So you never know, the individual. I wouldn't change it. I'd change some things, but I wouldn't change the experience, the overall experience.
All right. We'll pick that up again a little bit later on. So this is the Examiner cover. Sting in the tail. Toulon hero Conway set for fullback Zebo to lose out. We'll get your thoughts on that a little bit later on when we actually preview the match and see if that's a goer. Presumably it would be injury related, but maybe not. Just a reminder as well, Sean Dyche is actually going to be on the Keith Andrews show today. around about 12:30. It's a Burnley FC special. Keith and Joseph Conroy went over to visit the club yesterday. Unbelievable access. Apparently the Burnley training ground is one of the best in world football because they just built it. So live across offtheball.com, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook from 12:30 today.
Okay, I have the Irish Times here, first one for me, and you can see the headline there: City continue to dominate, and that's from Antonio Conte, the Chelsea manager. He's talking about City. It was interesting, he spoke last year when they won the league. He doesn't want a Mourinho type season.
Lo and behold, it happened straight away.
He's getting one, so he's talking about City. He's probably just, he doesn't mean that.
I think he does. I think they're all terrified that, like, Guardiola has all this money, the players are so young. Like, the only thing that can stop this now is if Guardiola gets so pissed off about something. Like,
lose the dressing room and there's a bit of discontent or something there. But anyway, look, there is every chance that they will continue to dominate, and the others have got to catch up. We don't want to see him catching up by just spending money and more, crazy sums for players. But anyway, we'll wait and see. Conway wants to spectacular try to be part of the bigger story. That's Andrew Conway talking about, the try being worth nothing if they don't go on to win it. Again, he's been very modest there. The try, he's put him in the semi-final. It's there forever, But we'll obviously chat about the Champions Cup, that wonder try that he scored. We've got the Herald here, and this is a big headline: double blow for Leinster. McGrath loses fitness battle. That's Luke McGrath, number 9, Luke McGrath, and that would mean Lowe forced out to sit out that cup semi-final. Will we explain the permutations of Luke Fitzgerald having to play? And this is an exclusive, so that's very well sourced within Leinster. So if he's writing that, then it must be true. So away we go. Yeah. So if Luke McGrath misses out, then they've got to play Gibson Park, and that'll mean Scott Fardy or James Lowe miss out because there's only 2 overseas players allowed play in the European Cup. But you can play as many South Africans as you want. You can't play that many Tongan Samoans, because of the Cottesloe agreement. Again, I don't know. It's an agreement between South Africa and the Pacific nations that it's something to do with the visas and stuff. An agreement, a European agreement or something, that they're not deemed as in the same bracket as Australians and New Zealanders. So it wasn't actually a rugby decision. It was like a intergovernmental. Yeah, that Cottesloe agreement, and that's a government agreement. But then the Champions Cup had this stipulation of the number of overseas players. But look, Leinster still are in good fettle. I think most probably they can put outside backs in as opposed to. I think Fardy gives him that bit of aggressiveness, that bit of grit up front and experience. Remember, he was signed as a second row. It was like, we've no second rows, and now here he is playing 6. I was like, well, he can also play 6. He can play 6, and he played for Australia. I played against him before. He's brilliant player, because he only got capped when he was about 27, so he was a bit of a late comer. This is another story. Only 4 Coola men back in blue for the Dublin hurlers, for Cian O'Callaghan, Sean Moran, Jake Malone and David Tracy have rejoined the county panel as Pat Gilroy gears up for his first Leinster senior hurling campaign. Yeah. You'd think there'd be more of them. You'd hope there'd be more. Coola, you'd hope there'd be more of them. Obviously their best one is playing with the footballers, but we're hearing that there's no Corofin footballers playing with the Galway footballers in the championship, which is a bit of a shock given the All-Ireland champions. News that Corofin are heading over to the States to play against New York as a curtain raiser, or as a fundraiser, as a challenge match warm-up for New York ahead of their Connacht title match. And they're also fundraising over there, but people aren't giving out about that the way they give out about the GPA. No. In the Mirror, Jose born again. That's on the back of Manchester United's 2-0 win last night. They bounced back after that disappointment at the weekend, ahead of the semi-final against Spurs. Spurs coming up on Saturday. Again, Andrew Conway targets Racing's scalp in fight for Euro glory. What have we got next? The Star. That's more like it again. Pogba passes his audition. This Paul Pogba story is unbelievable, isn't it? It's non-stop. Came off again last night. Man of the match performance taken off in the 80th minute. And this one here, this one really kind of, it's Conte speaking again, the press conference yesterday about Sean Dyche ahead of their match against Burnley tonight, that it's easier for someone like Sean Dyche, who doesn't have the pressure of
Trying to win matches.
Trying
basically.
to win big games and big tournaments that, they're a mid-table team and less pressure.
Yeah. His point, Conte's point, and obviously it's been twisted here as like some kind of weird attack on Sean Dyche, but he's making the point that if you are the manager of a club who's expected to win the title, only one team wins the title. If you're the manager of a team who's trying to avoid relegation, everybody except 3 teams avoids relegation. So your odds are much better of avoiding relegation than they are of winning the title. And also, I mean, I don't know if you talk specifically about the pressure or the likelihood of getting sacked, but like it's easier to send your team out to defend for a game and get a draw than it is to be creative and try and win matches.
Well, but his point, and you're making it as well, it's true. So if he's not saying it in a sarcastic, insulting way, it makes perfect sense, because Sean Dyche is a hero at Burnley. They love him. He's, as opposed to Conte, if you don't win and if you're not challenging for the title, if you're not in the Champions League knockout stages,
even though you did last year,
you're about to get sacked.
Yeah.
So you can, you win the Premier League, and the speculation, most of it, you lose 2 or 3 games in a trot, and well, you're going to get sacked. The players are giving out about you. They don't like the tactics.
So Conte's right, basically.
He is right. There is less pressure. There's less expectation. So if Burnley stay in the Premier League, and they've had a fantastic season, they go ahead of Arsenal tonight if they beat Chelsea. Incredible return for the budget they have. So you can look at this as a sense that Conte is. He shouldn't be complaining and saying it's much easier for him because we've loads of resources. We can buy top players in the world. But the point here, and it can't be lost, is it's true. There's less pressure. If he avoids relegation, he's a hero. If Conte doesn't win the Premier League, he's potentially going to get sacked. And there could be a change there at the end of the season. Looks like they'll miss out on Champions League as well.
Yeah.
Slight chance that they've got to go to Burnley and win tonight. That's a massive one. Nearly done with the papers. Scholes blast disrespectful Pogba. It's going back to the Pogba story and his recent form. Scholes is coming out of his shell in the last kind of 2 or 3 years since he's retired. Didn't expect him to be so vocal on the Manchester United situation when Van Gaal was there, and now he's talking about Pogba. Has he a right to? Of course he has. One of the best midfielders that played in the Premiership. Some merit in it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good pundit. I don't think.
Yeah, he is. And Pogba was man of the match last night, but he's been found wanting and missing in some of the players. He was good against City, but Scholes is speaking out about that, and that he's been disrespectful to his manager and also disrespectful to the Manchester United shirt. The other story in hold the 2 pages open here is about Sergio Aguero finally making the Premiership.
Oh yeah, it's the first time.
Team of the season, yeah.
What? I didn't know that.
I think so. Well, I don't know.
7 seasons and the first time.
Yeah, 7
That's
seasons,
ridiculous.
first time, and yeah, it's crazy, really. But he's in that team. There's a few more. Mo
Just
Salah,
his best season.
David Silva, Harry Kane. It's a good side, to be fair. Ericsson, Kevin De
Salah
Bruyne.
not make it.
No, he's in. Salah is in. Yeah, Kyle Walker. Otamendi, Alonso, and De Gea in goals, of course.
Yeah.
De Gea in goals.
Yeah.
You call him De Gea or De Gea?
I got De Gea. Yeah.
De Gea. And last one for me is, we're talking about Scholes criticising him. It's a big headline, isn't it? Pogba back to his best. His best has deserted him, I think, on a consistent basis this season. So, to get a good win against Bournemouth last night. It's an important win.
Yeah.
They want to finish second. Mourinho said that.
And also, it just stops the nonsense about like the bad performance of the weekend.
Will he be sold, do you think?
Yeah, I think Mourinho wants to sell him. He wants someone who will do exactly what Mourinho wants him to do in every game and in every performance, and has a level of consistency that Pogba doesn't have. So
I want to show you this picture. I know it's not on my list, but just have a look at that picture. I don't know if you can see it. You look at Mourinho's face and Pogba coming off in the 80th minute. Mourinho has the thumb up about,
off you go.
Get going, keep going, don't stop. No hugs, no kisses, no handshakes. Doesn't look great, does it?
Is it really like, you've done your bit now, go in and have a
seen
rest?
That? You want to put it up again, no? Want to zoom in on that?
Yeah, there you go. It's like, go on. It is go and have a rest, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not like screw you, because he did. I mean, they said
Maybe
he was
you're
man of the
reading too
match.
much into the picture. It just doesn't look like, it's not a like, well done.
Oh, we
good
love
job.
you. You know, it's like tough love.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
parenting.
he's spoken out about him,
Jose
Mourinho, a
Mourinho
bit,
style.
hasn't he? And frustrated a little bit with him.
Unless they're going to try and turn him into the best player in the world, and they think they can do that, and that's Mourinho's ego is like, yeah, I can definitely fix this situation. But no doubt they would get their money back from Paris Saint-Germain, who, like, there's some talk that maybe Paris Saint-Germain are going to sell Neymar to Real Madrid, and who knows, after the World Cup, is there another like 250 million, 170 million? It's like, it's all monopoly money at this point.